You don't need a killer dragon for me. Ooh, I don't need no fairy tale.
Okay. So, as mentioned in the write-up, actually, are people watching this? Should I tell them? Oh God, we have viewers. Oh no, hello viewers. I guess I have to tell them the prompt and what's going on in the world. Um, Hello viewers. This is an alternative setting for Dungeons and Dragons called Humblewood. It's built on a world that has no standard humans or regular races, instead all of which are replaced by a series of bird and or ground-dwelling animals. Um, they are human-sized, so like the servum, which are a deer-like race, are 6 feet tall, but they are still deer. Um, the birds being a little too heavy for actual flight, most of which can still glide, and some can do like bursts of flying, but not long term stuff. Um, it's a super cute system. It's one of the one of its many attractive qualities is that the art style and just kind of the entire book and setting as a whole is very adorable. The lore is good. It's a fun little world, and we're replacing Call of Cthulhu with it as of today.
Yay!
Yay! The party at hand is starting in a town called Winnowing Reach, which you can see on the left side of the Great Forest here. Winnowing Reach was a way station at first. It was really just a trading post on the main road. But some generations back, the slime trade became a much more prominent factor within the realm. And as such, as the nearest city to the main road from the slime's areas, which is south in that mock fields, which is a large swamp area, the slime trade begat an actual city. Now, it's not enormous, and it's a little rough around the edges, but it has all of the standard city accommodations, as well as a perch above with some amount of perch guard, which are the bird folk military, which keep watch over most of the region. In general, there is a little bit of a kind of like class divide between the winged and the non-winged. And while some races are more or less interested in such a thing, if you have wings and can live atop the trees, you are typically a little higher society and a little less down to earth. But if you do live on the ground as either a bird or one of the humble folk, you are typically a little more nature loving, a little more community driven, a little less likely to be of noble heirs. As I move over to the Winning Reach map. Oh, wait, you guys know
so for anyone confused, winnowing is an agricultural method developed by ancient cultures for separating grain from chaff. It is also used to remove hay and chaff or other pests from stored grain.
And colloquially, you may have seen this in your common fantasy books as a means of separating the betters from the lessers, the enemies from the allies. Winnowing is a colloquial term for splitting something from something else.
Yeah. So y'all got a vocabulary lesson to.
Indeed. Today you learned. As we move to the Winnowing Reach map, we see this kind of rundown, rough and tumble city. It is featured by, as we can see here, seven major points of interest. Point of interest 1 is the storage and granary. 2 is the town jail. 3 is the magistrate's office. 4 is Eliza's cart, and I believe she is the kind of odds and ends general store. Yeah. 5 is the apothecary. which is your alchemist, your potions, your herbal remedies. 6 is the book bindery, the more or less library, and book creations. And 7 is the Wrangler's Rest, which is the local inn. As I mentioned earlier, this town popped up off of the slime trade. And for those of you in the party who have not read about the slimes, and of course those of you out there watching, slimes in this world are oozes in D&D, and they are magical life forces that kind of animate goo in various states and stages. So some of them would be simple slimes, and they are, weak levels of monster, but they've got a little bit of magical life force. And some of them are like the black pudding, or the devouring cubes of death and stuff. Ooblex are some pretty terrifying examples. All of which
that was my first ever D&D fight.
It was
that first night, man. Ooblex.
And all of which are animated by powerful magical sources. And the people of the Humblewood discovered that those magical life forces could be harnessed from the ooze and utilized in the creation of magical potions, even like magical items and building blocks of things that for crafting and artisanry. So those who are willing to risk their lives in wrangling slimes for the magical essence are slime wranglers, and they are the primary trade that passes through this city. As we move further into the story, Winnowing Reach once a year hosts a slime festival called Slime Fest, and the first day is always marked by the Slime Rodeo. We will pick up this particular tale one day previous on the afternoon of the eve of Slime Fest. First, let's introduce our players. Starting from the bottom left of my particular screen, James, tell us about who you're playing, whether they know of you, if you're moved here, were born here, what you look like, what you do.
Accidentally just hit exit game. That's not what I intended to do. Lycus Redmane is a Vulpin of some local infamy from his village out west of Winnowing Reach, and known as something of a troublemaker. In short, he had about 4'6", red mane, hence red mane, and has been brought up by individuals who are not his biological family. He is traveling far and wide after starting yet another fire in the town forge, and is taking some time to cool off. So he's headed over to the Slime Rodeo to enjoy himself for a little while and spend some well-earned or ill-gotten.
As a Vulpin, are you playing straight fox, or do you have a particular style of fox that you're playing?
Fox.
Just regular old red fox.
Regular old red fox.
Okay. Moving up, we've got Kosher.
So I am Resic. So basically I moved here from the capital, and I set out on my adventure. I wanted to basically leave home, find my way in the world. Kind of wanted to find out who I was. I had my own personal beliefs. Basically, the character is wanting to look for his own place in the world. He has basically, he believes that family and honor are very important. He believes that the country itself is very very good in nature, but he wants to go find out for himself, learn more about the world that he lives in, and he basically severed his bonds by leaving his family, even though it's very important to him, because he believes that seeking out himself is more important than that. So, but he's a Marn Raptor. He's, I guess, normal colored.
Well, as a
A
raptor, you
little
can
on
be any. You could be a falcon, a kite, a hawk. What particular style
Ah.
of bird would you like to be?
He's going to be a falcon,
All right.
and a little bit on the smaller side.
Okay. I'm snagging pictures out of the book, out of these various
Okay.
character types, so that we can put them on screen.
Currently getting an avatar set up. So
Nice. What would you say your profession is, Resic? What do you do? You're like you're out, you're seeking adventure, trying to find yourself. How do you pay the bills?
I want to say that the best way to do that would be a trader. So,
Okay. All right, moving to the right, Dungyang.
Okay, my character is Ugla von Beaksbrook, though you wouldn't know his last name unless you had been in the area for a long. He was born into he's a strig, like a big fucking owl, big old muscular owl guy.
Which owl?
And what's that?
What kind of owl, though?
Oh, stout strig.
No, I mean real life. What kind of owl?
That one in the picture.
The one in the picture.
Mhm.
All right.
You know, orange-eyed. He's the greater North American orange-eyed owl.
Ah, yes.
Mm-hmm. I got to hold one of those in Japan.
I too.
ooh,
Yeah. So I think that's why I was drawn to that particular one, because that was like the gentlest of the owls. They were like huge fucking like great horned owl, kind of like just monstrous owls. And you go to give them like the food, and they just like fucking like snatch it, just like bite the tweezers out of your hand. And it's like, holy shit, this thing could easily take my finger off. And there's just these little dudes over there with these like intelligent little orange eyes. And so I'm like, okay, he looks a little more chill. I'll hold him. And so they put it up there, and you go to feed him, and he just gently takes it, like, thank you. And it's like, my God,
This is the one.
the raw diversity in this owl family stuck in this little room in Japan. So his name is Ugla von Beaksbrook, but to everybody else, he's just Ugla, the wandering vagrant. He gets by, well, I guess he was born into a noble family a long, long time ago. They fell on hard times, made some bad business decisions, got blackballed by the other nobles, and all died out. Last one of his kind. So he wanders from town to town, helping out with the harvest or whatever menial hard labor needs done. He's actually in town because he knows there's going to be inevitable cleanup after the slime rodeo, so he's hoping to be able to pitch in and make a couple bucks off of that. He is a devout follower of Altis. It kind of gave him hope and I guess a new life once his old world of, you know, lavish living and easy lifestyles fell apart, and so he had to fall into something and find structure, and so he latched onto that. He's a paladin through that, so he's very, very strict about the religious order. He, I guess, because he's lived the highest highs and the lowest lows, he has a great respect and understanding of all of his fellow bird folk and what are the various animals
Humble
called?
folk.
Humble folk alike. Just because, you know, he's been to the top and the bottom, and he knows that, you know, all are created equal in the eyes of Altis after that. So he generally values helping out where he can and just trying to live an honest, good life.
I love it. Secondary or side note, did you guys see, I don't know how many of you actually went through the book. Did you see the Strig Ranger right below the page where yours was, Dungeon? That dude's fucking awesome.
Yeah, there were a lot of awesome pictures in there.
Here, I'll put it on screen. There you go, chat. This dude's fucking awesome. He got himself a crystal frog or some shit, lizard thing. His awesome little saber-toothed cat cloak. He's cool.
Where is this?
On stream.
Oh. Oh, that dude. Yeah, no joke. Can you imagine having like a cat cloak?
In this world? Ooh. Well, I mean, luckily most of the predator animals are not playable races, so you kind of get to assume it was a bad guy.
I mean, it's a house cat. Like, house cats and birds are mortal enemies, so it makes sense.
He has a jackalope, because if you look at those horns that it has on top of it.
Oh, that's true. It does have some little horns up there.
Okay, maybe not jackalope, but
cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe, yes.
Like a cantaloupe.
Yes, just like a cantaloupe. Perfect. Just like that.
For anybody listening without visuals, just picture a cantaloupe. It's very similar.
All right, and last but not least, Pepper.
Yes. Okay, so my character is a goose named Genra. She does not have a last name. She lives amongst the other geese in a pond in Winnowing Reach and has spent most of her life there. She's a young adult, and she, among her gaggle of geese, along with them, she also is very I don't know how to explain it. She's very just in her, sense of morality. She's a very upright citizen and believes that, good will prevail. And
so you're playing Gallus.
She's just, yes.
All right.
Yes. So, she is just what you would typically picture as a goose, a white goose. She is actually a bard. So instead of carrying around she actually carries around a lyre. And she often plays in her spare time. But I think amongst the other geese, she's kind of an outlier. There's not a bunch of geese playing lyres. They're very busy folk that are trying to kind of bridge the gap between the humble folk and the bird folk. Of course, they have, their typical, bird folk snootiness, but they still try to be a part of both worlds as best they can because they understand, honor and justice and, being morally righteous and all that good stuff. So, yeah, she has always lived there. She doesn't really have a very exciting background. She's just been, growing up there, taking care of day-to-day duties, trying to learn to be, one of her people, but also kind of yearning for something a bit more adventurous in certain ways, but that also kind of scares her because, she can be a bit shy sometimes. But once you get to know her, she definitely warms up, and we'll see what she has in store.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
On Roll20, until further notice, these are your icons. If you'd like to replace them, feel free.
Yes.
I've been playing too much Animal Crossing recently. I'm thinking in my head, it's like, well, what is their catchphrase? Do you end every sentence in honk?
Yo, yo, yo.
Yeah, exactly.
I fucking love Renee. Yeah, I don't know if you have her or.
Dude, I started with Renee,
Did
and
you?
Yeah, out of 350 characters, you name one of the two I started with.
I didn't start with her. I've only seen her on a stream that I watch. But that fucking hot pink rhino Fucking yo. She's awesome.
Oh, mine's Renee, Reneigh, and it's a horse.
Oh, no. I'm talking about Renee,
Ano-
Renee.
There are multiple Renees in the
There's
game.
at least two.
But yeah,
Oh,
this
the
one's
name
a
makes
a
sense.
horse pun, and she's a horse.
I mean, the whole damn game is puns. Like, that's
It's so
just
good.
entirely pun built. But yeah, Renee.
It's been
with
the best
ease.
30 minutes of my day, every day for the last couple of days.
Renee with ease is a hot pink rhino, and her catchphrase is yo.
That's awesome.
Yo.
And my other one is just this fat little penguin, and his catchphrase is
Oh, I
waddle.
want a penguin.
He's pretty cool. His name's like
got-
Ollie or something.
Got a
Ollie.
raccoon.
I might have made that up.
And a robot duck.
Oh, cool. There's only like a couple of robots. There's a robot frog named Ribot that I'm like, I want that.
I've never played Animal Crossing, but it sounds so
Dude.
cute.
I haven't
I
played.
really
Do you have a
do.
Switch?
I haven't played
I
since
do.
the original
Oh, you gotta get it,
64.
man.
But this is it's a good time. I'm not a big
Mhm.
fan of some of the time gating mechanics that they're really kind of forcing me to play it over a series of days, not just pump
Yeah.
hours in.
Yeah.
But it's still really enjoyable.
Yeah, you get that choice up front where you can either play it a little bit every day for like a year or two, or you can just play it, exit out, change the date, play it, exit out, change the date, play it,
Right.
exit out, change the date, and ad infinitum until you. But you burn out on it pretty quick on that, and you miss out on the seasonal events and things.
Yep.
Yeah, the last one I played was a GameCube one when I was a wee lad.
Indeed. All right.
Although I'm not too keen on having to pay for the multiplayer service. You know how much that is?
I don't, and I don't really plan on doing it unless it's
Yeah.
incredible, or something. It's not real big on my list. Okay, so we have all the things. We've done all the prep. Last but not least, for each of you. So some of you mentioned how you came here or why you're here. You've been, in general, the four of you and many others have been here for a number of years. You didn't just travel in. Some of you may have been born here, some of you may not. But one of the questions is, do you know each other? Have you met before? Are you friends? Are you probably not enemies? Aren't really a lot of enemies in this setting. But like any preconceived connections. Nobody's playing the same race, so there's no easy family units. Three of you are birds, so the one of you is a ground dwelling bird, so not so much there. So it may be that the two flying birds or the two perched birds know of each other. The two ground dwellers know of each other. Now, let's see. Let me go look at one of these sheets. Right. Okay. All right. So, at the very least, given that the town is not terribly large, it's a medium sized at best, which in this campaign setting, a medium sized means like a couple hundred, not a few thousand, like it might be in a major city based setting. So at the very least, you've all seen each other before. Whether you knew each other or not might be up to you.
Well, do any of your characters associate with charity or the homeless or the?
Is anyone very giving?
Because you definitely have met Ugla through that. In general, you've probably seen him like helping out with menial tasks or just like chilling in it.
Now, Ugla, while you're technically homeless, you do have a bed most nights at the local temple to your god.
Right.
But it's a cot amongst other homeless birds and humble folk.
Right, but he lives. It's one of those things where it's just like he's discovered the true meaning of life, so his lifestyle's pretty ascetic, and
Right.
so just doesn't. He wouldn't view it as being homeless. He'd view it as not giving a shit to pay for a house.
Yeah, as not
Because it's
needing
like if he
goods.
yeah, exactly, if he were to come upon enormous amounts of money, he would just give it all.
Gotcha. As a crafter by trade, some of you may have run into James's character before, Lycus. While I don't know if you'd say that is also his profession, it is certainly something that you do on the regular, I assume, Lycus.
Yeah. It's something he'll do regularly. He'll fix various equipment, instruments, and sometimes he's keen on playing his own. He has a viol, which is a predecessor to the viola and violin, that he will sometimes pull out and play. And while he's not very good at it, most folks tend to clap along because, hey, it's something different.
So you've got a medium-sized string instrument.
Yeah.
Like, not quite the cello, but not nearly as small as the viola.
Yeah, it's something in between that. Yes, exactly.
Okay. So it has been seen around town. Now I would assume that Resic probably might be our resident traveler, since you want to be more mercantile. So it might be that you've been around the Great Wood a couple of times, and while you maybe make a home or you settle here because you primarily move slime trade based goods, we might assume that you've been to Meadowfen or all the way over to Alderheart, maybe even down to Marshview at least once.
Right. I was going to say that I may have seen some of these other characters in and out of trade or in passing, but for the most part, I probably don't know them personally. Okay. or really associated with them.
Now, as a Gallus, you basically know everybody, and everybody has to love you, because that's one of the rules of being a Gallus. You're just fucking nice to everybody. It's hard to hate any of the Gallus folk. Unless you're one of those "he's too nice" kind of people. So in general, you're probably the character who at least knows all of the other three players by name, if not any personal connections. Whereas the rest of you have only interacted in small moments over the years you've been here. Okay, so we are starting up the afternoon, or maybe just like late afternoon, early evening on the eve of a Slime Fest. Let's talk about what your characters are interested in Slime Fest, what really brings you around to it. Maybe it's just the excitement, but maybe you are participating in some capacity. It's a festival, so of course, beyond the rodeo, it has sales, it has events, it has fun shenanigans to partake in. It's especially popular among the limited number of children within the city. We'll go in the same order as introductions. Lycus, what is your desired participation in the festival? James, I see you reading over there.
Yes, I was reading the book as I was listening.
What is your desired participation in the festival? Are you participating in the rodeo? Do you plan to sell things? Do you want to do some
trying to sell?
Okay, so you plan to tinker, sell, repair as part of the festival market?
Yes.
Okay. Any particular interest in the rodeo aside from the spectacle?
Mostly the spectacle.
Okay. Resic, same question. You're a merchant, so presumably the same answer. You are planning to sell things.
Well, as a trade, I'm looking to see what kind of goods I can basically move and sell elsewhere, as well as
what you could export to other places that might be rare. Good. Any interest in the rodeo?
Yes, as someone that hadn't really been in the area during that time, it's something I'm very interested in. I'd never really seen a slime rodeo. So.
Cool. Moving on. Ugla, interests in the festival.
Every year, the Temple of Altis puts on a demonstration where representatives of Altis stand inside a barrel and are just covered in slime, and they have to last in there as long as they possibly can to show off the endurance and perseverance of Altis. So he's eager to help out and try and beat his record he set a couple years ago.
Excellent. And Genra? Or is it Genra or Genra?
It's Genra. You're right. She will be actually performing on the side.
Excellent.
So you'll see her on her lyre. There are not others with her. It's just her. This is her hobby. So yeah.
Okay. Now there is a festival band. Is Genra a member, or would you say she's been trying to get in for her whole life? How good of a bard and how personable with the band members would you say she is?
I would say she. Okay, so what are the other band members like? Let's start there.
So, I mean, they're a band, right? They're a small group of people who only like each other and like the music they play. They're all birds, and they're a little high and mighty about their talents as the festival band.
Yes. Okay. All right. So Genra is, as I said before, she's kind of a loner in some sorts of ways within her own group. And the bird folk obviously don't have the best perspective on those who are ground dwellers. So she's definitely been trying over the years to actually, perfect her craft and make it into the band, but she's also very intimidated by them. So she isn't in the band yet.
Okay. So the festival band is a pair of Luma, very beautiful, very shiny, a raptor and a strig, and they are extremely exclusive about how good their band is. It's obvious that the Luma, who are overly nice and a little spacey, recognize your talent, but are not really willing to overstep the raptor and the strig, who are not letting you in the band.
Damn them. Fine.
Alrighty. Last question that I skipped in intros. Approximate ages. Same order as always. James.
19.
Kosher.
I'm going to say late 18.
Dungeon.
His age?
Yeah, approximate age.
Late 40s.
All right. Well, you are a strig. What is the lifespan of those? So, like, 2 of the birds don't live very long.
Live to 80.
80. Okay, so you're middle aged. Okay. All right, Pepper.
Genra would be 20.
Dungeon and I have a very similar approach to creating characters these days. Most of the time, in all my other games, they're like 18, fresh out of fighter school, and I'm like, I don't know, like 50.
My dude's seen some shit. he needs to have weathered a lot of storms. Because it's one of those things where it's like, you're not just patient and kind and understanding and accepting right out of the gates. Those are traits that have to be smashed into you over. So if I wanted to play a character like
Gallus,
that,
in which case they're a forced racial feature.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Gallus entry is literally like, you're a nice motherfucker. That's your whole race. That's all you've got.
Oh my
Yes.
god. Ugo's gonna love that.
Okay. So the afternoon wears on. Those of you planning to participate as a merchant or planning to do something in the festival, you are busy with prep. If you've rented out a space. By rented, I don't mean paid. I mean like you signed up for a space. The children are especially excited. They're all hanging around the festival market area, watching the banners go up, looking at the pretty colors. Every once in a while, one of the little raccoon kids or something will run by and snag an apple, and everyone looks on like, oh, you. Things are going well. Everyone's pleased. Those of you with a special interest in the rodeo itself are on the kind of like the closer side of the market to where the rodeo sits, and you see the large basically cauldrons, because slimes are more or less a liquid. So they've got like covered cauldrons being wheeled in where the slimes are kept, as well as the pseudo slime vat, which is what the Temple of Altis uses for their spectacle. It's not an actual slime that's literally trying to eat them. It's just part of the show.
Right.
And so that it's a corn syrup mixture,
Right.
Things are good. Things are great. The local mayor, I don't know if the book gave me a lot of persons for this. I don't think they did. Let me see if there's any sort of neat NPCs here. I don't think so. Nah. Ain't giving me shit. Alright. The local mayor of Winnowing Reach, Pontus, is a large and boisterous chicken, one of the Gallus. He doesn't do a lot of mayorly duties. Mayoral. That's good. Doesn't do a lot of mayoral duties, but he represents the town very effectively. And so, like, when people of other cities are trying to get trade and stuff going, they have a disposition of they need to be nice to him because he's so nice to everyone else. He's gathering up lots of things, trying to direct people, making sure everyone's feeling good, feeling happy. And he spots several of you going about your duties or getting ready, and gives you a pat on the back. Everybody fucking loves Pontus, so it's you're just like, yay, Pontus, he's so nice. But the night continues on. Your festival preparations complete, and we head into the nighttime. You head for your various homes. You find your way to your beds. You eat a good hearty meal so you can be prepared for the next day. Dinner, and let me mark off the festival area. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's the center of town, but it is approximately here. And the slime rodeo will be around the pond area so that the liquids can make things fun and hard. And yeah, okay, good. So you head home. You pass the night in peace and tranquility. You prepare for the day. Morning arrives. Slime Fest begins. The city's abuzz. The city's aflutter. The wings are beating. The great rhythm thrums through the town. For those of you who haven't read or skimmed the religion section of the book, the vast majority of religious believers, which is most people, believe that the world at large and the universe beyond it were created by something called the Great Rhythm, which was a beating of the godly wings from within the chaotic darkness that begat its forms and functions with every beat of its wings. And so those of you or those characters who feel religious in bond with the universe, this might speak as though they can feel the great rhythm, beating within their heart. And it is certainly out and about today. Music starts as soon as the sun comes up. The band is standing atop the tree at the north side of the market, and beginning with a lively morning tune to get everyone up and about. The mayor, a chicken, crows with the sun, and the market officially kicks off. Slime Rodeo begins its first event at 9 a.m. But with sunup at 6, the market is in full swing, largely making a lot of colorful festival breakfast foods. Not a whole lot of actual mercantile sale goes on super duper early right now. This is everybody's getting prepped and hyped up for the rodeo. So they're either selling breakfast or rodeo based tchotchkes. Those of you who are looking forward to the spectacle, So the two of you on the left of my screen, James and Kosher, Lycus and Resic, you awakened fairly early, trying to because there's a rush for good seats. So the stadium, as it were, like the temporary stadium seating, opens at 8, and so the line usually starts about 7. What do you do? You're up somewhere 6 to 6:30. You interested in breakfast? You want to go get in line? You have things you want to do.
Lycus will sit down for a good hearty breakfast before he goes to check things at his shop and go get.
All right. Your shop's nice and secured as you'd left it. The festival, while Winnowing Reach itself is what you might call a breeding ground for thieves, given that it is kind of a rough and tumble city, the festival has this just divine blessing that nothing really goes wrong. Nobody really has any bad times during the festival, and it's only a few days, and so like nothing really gets stolen. It's not like most people leave their mercantile areas unlocked, unsecured. They're just kind of sitting there. Very rarely would you say that anyone has a negative experience of any kind coming out of the festival. So your goods are all good and safe. Resic, breakfast?
I'm looking for a light breakfast. Basically, looking for something that I can get and walk away to go get find a good seat for the rodeo.
Excellent. Now, something that I saw kind of recently in an anime or a story, I don't remember. I remember, it's an anime. Another kind of like animal-built humanoid world. Is that the whole? I didn't see mention of it here in the books. Why it comes up in my mind is that the whole world is vegetarian, because all meats would be intelligent beings. And I kind of wonder if that's the case here. I mean, I would like, if there are non-intelligent animals from which meat might come, or if it's a pseudo cannibalism to have any meat at all.
It's a good question. I mean, like owls out in the wild, they eat a ton.
Oh yeah, they're almost exclusively meat. I kind of like the sound of that, though. Let's go with that. Let's say that the world at large of intelligent critters, especially those of the playable races, which are more or less neutrals and goods, are all vegetarian. Now you have, of course, the world has adapted. You've got plenty of ways to get your proteins and things that everyone loves and stuff like that. It's not like this is a newfound thing. So your
seeds are high in protein, so
sure. I mean, lots of plants are if you're looking. And given that this is the whole world, they've found all the things they need. They grow, whatever it is that's necessary. So you've got yourself a veggie crepe full of good high protein foods. As a raptor, you are pretty dependent on speed and energy. And you go for a wander. It's 7:30 a.m. when the Temple of Altis starts carting in their barrels to store in one of the side areas, and checks in on the pseudo slime vat to make sure it's slime looking and not actually dangerous. And on the eastern side of the market, we find Genra playing her heart out as far as possible from the band. And having a lovely time of it. A lot of the adults will hang out with the band because that's a cool adult thing to do, which means that Genra pretty easily attracts a lot of the like teens and under, especially children who are like busy eating their festival donuts. They love to crowd around Genra and dance about and do whatever. 8 o'clock rolls around. The line for the arena begins to shuffle in, and the two of you who were eager to get inside have been waiting for quite a bit. You get a good seat on the north side of the stands, which is not the side that has to stare at the sun, so that's nice. Genra, you play your Pied Piper routine of like 5-year-olds straight into the stadium. It's like do 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 do, and there's just this marching cavalcade of humble folk just following you along into the stadium. The stadium itself is a split level of seating, kind of like a theater, except with the intent of providing more aerial seating for the perches, for those who can fly. Not because, and again, the class separation is not like extremely negative, but it is there. Like, it is mostly birds up on the top seats, on the high seats, and mostly humble folk on the ground seats. None of which are particularly closer. It's just that it's kind of always in the background. Like, yep, the birds are up there. I'm down here. You all crowd in. The slime rodeo kicks off. Mayor Pontus climbs up onto his podium, crows a little to calm everyone down. Now hear this slime rodeo held on the 18th year, 18th annual, what's the word I want to use? 18 celebrations of rodeos for the slimes. Now, we've been holding this festival for many a decade, but a rodeo, an introduction of my own father, he introduced this is amazing, wonderful spectacle. Now, we begin, as we always begin, with the band. The band flies up onto their long single piece of wood perch and plays a rousing tune through a large conical megaphone device. It's not magical; it's just meant to direct sound. And so everyone's like, "Oh yeah, woo!" It's all a good time. They finish up. It's a short ditty just to kick things off. Oh, lovely as always, lovely. Now, the first event to whet your appetites, whet your beaks and mouths and whistles. This year, we begin with the slime barrels. And the Temple of Altis and its variety of volunteers and contestants they all roll barrels out onto the platform, and then with great fanfare and show, the high priest and a couple of his primary altar assistants will push out this vat. And since last night, they spent the whole night painting it to look terrifying, and it's a little not terrifying, but it's got a big skull and crossbones on it and some wavy stink lines. The bottom's all green and shit.
People are doing lightning zap cantrips beside it. Yeah.
Somebody's just casting create fire over and over on some brush to make smoke happen. And so they wheel it out. They're like, ooh. Now, you as the contestants all know that the slime itself is not harmful. It's mixed to smell awful and to kind of slowly ooze like an actual ooze might. But in reality, the slime itself is not going to eat you. It's largely for show. You all line up, putting on your best, haha, I'm here for the festival kind of statures or posture. And they present you all with your barrels. Oh yes, the slime barrels, one of my favorite events. I myself once sat in that very barrel there, he points to a random barrel, and for a solid 4 minutes, 4 minutes, wow. The current record is 6 minutes, 18 seconds. But 4 minutes is a very respectable time. Now, contestants, this year we've got something special, something extra. Within each barrel, you will find a small bag. Inside of this bag is a mystery puzzle, shall we say? And if you solve your mystery puzzle, it will assist you in staying within your barrel. If you cannot, you had best hold your breath, young lads and lasses. Now, on my mark, begin! Everybody dives into their barrel, slams the lid down, and rotates it so that it kind of like locks in place. And then you can hear the sound of the ooze being dumped across the barrel line. You land down into your barrel.
So there's a little window in the front, so you can see him messing around in there.
Right. So you can see him like, or if they're just holding their breath, they're just like, just hanging out.
Some people not even bothering the puzzle.
Right. Well, I mean, the puzzles are hard.
Conserving energy.
Right. So you're a stout race. You're like you fit less into your barrel than some of the others. Like, so one of the contestants is a Gerbine, one of the mouse people. He's got tons of room, whereas you've got maybe 3 inches on all sides. So you land down into your barrel. What are you doing?
Glancing down at the puzzle to see what it looks like.
It's in a bag.
Am I able to reach the bag?
You can. You've got it like you bend at the knees a little and just kind of snag it and bring it up to your face. Now you said like 3 inches. Like you're just like.
Uggla's, very fit, and he's won this competitions a few times in the past. So he's confident he can hold his breath, and he knows that if he can solve this puzzle, it should be in the bag.
Excellent.
So he's going to try and check out the puzzle.
All right, so you slide it out, and at the same time, you've done this several times, so you're listening for that last pocket of air as the ooze rushes over your thing, and you hear that, and then it's coming, and then this is the time, last breath. Make a Constitution check. Solid. You suck in a good breath. It's not the best breath you've ever taken, but you know that even this breath has taken you to a victory before. And you pull out your puzzle. The puzzle is a 2-stage riddle plus like actual like little lockbox kind of deal. The riddle asks you something about like, why do the Gallus only arrive in the treetops? And it's got a couple of small. It's got like some boldings or something. It's trying to give you hints, but it says like, tell unto me, these reasons 3, that the Gallus arrive within the tree. If you can find the ties that bind, a breath will no longer be mine. And your little puzzle is an actual tree. And it's got 3 little like ropes and pegs off to one side and 3 more off to the other side. And at the end of each peg is like a little figure. And you can tell, so it's like, oh, okay, this is like a little mix and match dealy. That if I put the right ones in the right place, I solve the puzzle. And so you've got like a couple pieces of like a piece of food, maybe like some corn. There's a heart. There's like a ladder. There's some smoke. There's a bed, and then there's a musical note. So you got your little puzzle, your little riddle. What are your thoughts?
So he has a 7 in intelligence. So he's thinking more along the lines of, are there any like indentions or any like physical features on these that might be hints as to where they go in the puzzle?
He's looking to see if there's just a musical note shape in
right.
the tree.
Right, like or any sort of like craftsmanship hint as to where if it was something that was cut off of it or something.
Unfortunately, they are all circular.
Oh. I guess he'd be racking his brain to think, does this tree match up with any trees in the village that he's seen?
Well, you got a couple of options here. Now, You can roll intelligence to see if if like the solution comes to you. And if you roll well, great, you'll solve the puzzle. If you roll poorly, you'll get so caught up in thought that you'll forget to hold your breath properly. Of course, you can forget the puzzle, thinking I probably won't get this kind of deal, or you can roll like luck or something to get lucky. Basically, I'll let you roll a d100 to see if you can basically brute force the puzzle.
So he knows he's not, the sharpest owl on the perch. So he racks his brain a bit to try and figure out, does this correspond to anything I've ever seen before? Do I know what this puzzle means? And he has no clue. So he says, you know what? I'll try and just put all this stuff into place, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll just hold my breath.
So you can try and brute force the puzzle.
That's the D100, yeah.
Yep. All right. Roll it. You are not a lucky strig. So after quite a while of just trying to push them in and stuff like that, it occurs to you that just shoving them into place must not be the way, because you've definitely tried all the combinations. You think you're not sure if you've forgotten one or something, but eventually you end up giving up. Drop the puzzle and hunker down at the window and look out to see if any of your other contestants have failed. Maybe another Constitution check.
These damned kinder games.
Excellent. You continue to hold on. And you can see that the Gerbine, who usually loses as they have small lungs, seems to be doing quite well. And he's just kind of hanging out in there, and every now and then he pulls up the puzzle like, haha, I solved it. And so he's hanging on longer than he usually can. But two of the other contestants have probably failed their puzzle and forgot to hold their breaths and have burst from the barrels, covered in slime, and they're like, ooh, gross, playing up how the slime's awful. And now you hear beyond the slime barrier a muffled but you can't make it out given the slime barrier muffling all the sound. But for those three of you outside and everyone in the audience, the mayor steps up on the podium again and he goes, "Shh, I didn't tell the contestants, but we had 2 surprises this year. They don't know, but the slime and the barrels are not the same as always. The base of the barrel has been falsified. It is no longer sound. The slime will creep in, and it might eat them." And,
Woo!
you're like 3 minutes into your breath holding. You've probably got another minute in you at least. But it's right about then that you start to feel a little something, maybe a little wetness right around your feet. And unfortunately, you can't really look down at your feet. You take up most of the barrel, and it's largely dark anyways, except for the little bit of light filtering through the window. And so
Night vision.
Right, that's true. But anyways, you can't see your feet, so you feel wetness, and that's never happened before. Something's wrong. What do you do?
I mean, I'm encased in slime, right?
Only on the outside.
Oh,
Like
the barrel is okay.
The
Cool. So
interior of
it's
the
seeping
barrel
through the bottom.
Like that should be your assumption. Basically, there's no other reason that your feet should be wet unless you pinch
Right.
yourself.
I'll feel the top of the barrel and just turn it just a little bit to make sure it's not like stuck or something like that. So if I need to get out, then
Seems good.
okay, I guess it's filling up with slime.
All right. You hear a couple more of the barrels open, and more people popping out. Maybe they were surprised by the slime, or maybe they just ran out of breath. Make me one more Constitution save or check. Ooh, you're starting to push your limits. You think that last breath you took not as good as you'd have liked it to be, and now you're running up against the last bits. You look around through your window, and you think you've only got maybe 2 other competitors, and we will now roll off to see who wins in the final round. One last Constitution check. You got to beat a 16.
Consistency.
Sadly, you're going to come in third as you run out of breath and burst free at the last possible moment.
He panics a little bit and smashes the
Just
up the barrel.
Crush your way through, having held too long and not wanting to black out. You push out, covered in slime and wood bits. Taking a giant breath, inhale some slime, hack it out.
Mine was leaking.
Right up next to you, coming in second, surprisingly, the Gerbine pops out, looking proud and heroic. And then lastly, a slender servant, one of the deer people, springs out. You recognize as one of the head acolytes from your temple. Also has won this several times alongside you. And stands up very tall, solid 6 feet. He has to sit down with his knees hunched to get in the barrel. Stands up. Oh, almost took a nap.
Oh, congratulations, Royce. I'll walk over and hold his hoof up.
Oh, thanks, Ugla. Ooh.
Another good competition.
Was your barrel leaking?
Oh yeah, I'm drenched. This is nasty.
I wonder if that was on purpose. He looks over at the priest.
No,
Looks
they
over
would have
at the
told
priest.
us.
Was the barrel supposed to leak? I didn't look at the puzzle. I took a nap.
I didn't get the puzzle either.
He goes, yes, the barrels were supposed to leak. It was a new surprise.
Snaky.
Yes. Royce, woo!
So Ugla will shake off his feathers and just send the shit flying everywhere.
The 3 of you are brought over to the small, little awards stand. You stand 1, 2, 3. Royce is given a 1 month supply of everyone's favorite festival treat, which is a long, rope, not rope, but long coiled confection that runs a long series of flavors as the chemical mixture that builds it up kind of runs out. It starts out with this super super sweet and then ends very sour on the far end.
Wow.
And it goes in between as you go rung by rung.
Oh, the orphanage would have loved that.
Oh yeah, maybe I'll give them some.
Good idea.
And then the Gerbine's like, yeah, I got a second. This one's for you, Mom. And he gets he and his family are treated to a day as the mayor, and so they get to make some mayoral decrees, and there's a fancy dinner involved and stuff like that. And in third place, you're given a task. Right, coming in third is kind of a mixed bag of depending on what you're looking for. You probably don't mind, but other third place winners have been yeah, but I don't want to do work. And so in third place, you're granted a task that you get the honor of carrying the slime torch after post the festival.
Oh, I've never gotten third before. This will be great. I've always wanted to carry the torch. Will I still have time to help clean up?
Oh yes, the slime torch task means that you'll be after the festival. You can clean up if you like. You must carry the torch down south to where the slime torch is embedded to absorb its magical slime energy.
Oh, will I get to bring it back next year?
Yes, that's the other half of your task.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for this great honor. Today is a good day.
It is, Ogla. It is. Um, so your event ends. The slime, the goo is cleaned up. The barrels are rolled out. The large vat is wheeled away. And the rodeo proper fight, like swings into gear. Now the slime rodeo, bring in the slimes, and you see several actual slimes, like real monsters, are wheeled in a variety of like things as small as like a large pot and as large as another cauldron or vat. And there's 3 categories of contestants. Like if you're basically like you're riding the pot slime, you're riding the cauldron slime, you're riding the vat slime, and it's the larger the slime in this case, the more deadly. Now, unlike rodeos with bulls, this is less about actually sitting on the slime and more about not getting eaten. You're put into a small arena and you're tied to the slime with a fast dissolving kind of veggie protein kind of based rope, which means that the slime who's on the other end is rapidly eating the rope you're attached to and pulling you closer.
Wow.
The rodeo, the competition is to either avoid the slime for as long as possible, or do by some other means, and you're not allowed weapons or magic, confound the slime into not eating you. Whoever does so the longest in each category, wins their prize. The pot slime, the smallest, is largely reserved for children. And so there's lots of budding rodeo participants or just kids looking to have fun. Their slime is largely harmless. Like it would take a couple of days to eat a small child, but it still hurts. It still burns if it touches you. And so they start off the competition with the children. You're all sitting in the stands having a great time. Humble folk are moving up and down the aisles with large bags of goodies, trying to make a couple of extra coppers, selling out popcorn and other local goods. The children's slime event wraps up quickly. Local fan favorite, a young, what's that other race I wanted to use? Where'd it go? In my race list. That's what I want. Come here. There we go. Yes, a young hedge, utilizing the terrifying spines upon his back. A young hedge boy rolls up into a ball and continuously spins around the slime and pokes it with its spines, just enough to distract it from eating the rope momentarily. And so he buys himself a lot of time this way and wins a prize, a very large cake baked by the local baker. He's overjoyed. He and his family will enjoy this very, very delicious cake. The medium competition, kind of like the young adults usually, and some adults who are just looking for fun, but not really wanting to risk their actual lives, will take place in the Cauldron competition. This is an actual ooze. Definitely could kill you. It might take a couple hours, but it's still like pretty excruciating to get like something part of you swallowed up. They run through this thing, and it looks like once you've gotten this old, you've got to you've got techniques, or you're gonna lose. And so like some of them are like throwing other stuff at the slime to distract it. Some of the ones, like most of the races come with claws of some kind. So some of them are literally just trying to attack the slime and risking taking a little damage to do so, because they're willing to accept a little pain to try and win the competition. Then one of them, you're pretty sure. Let's see. So, can all of you cast magic? Do we have a full magic party? I don't remember what all your classes are. Magic, definitely magic, definitely magic. Yeah.
Can I do that at level 1?
Can't you? I don't remember. You did, yeah, you get spells level 1 as a paladin, don't you?
Oh, oops.
I'm pretty sure all the spellcasting classes get spells immediately now. Oh no, you don't. You get spells at level 2.
No.
Okay. So for those of you who can cast spells, the winner of the mid-tier group, you think might have cheated a little. You think during some of their rolling around, you spotted a couple of little hand formations, and they had an easier time of things than most. But I mean that's kind of the game, right? It's not cheating unless you get caught. And so they're all very proud of the winner. The final competition comes up, and they've got a real, actual, like, scary kind of ooze popping out of here. Okay, it's even in the book. Where are we at? Yeah. Let me see if they... I don't know if they actually introduced new monsters in this setting. I'm sure they did. What if they got any cool oozes I could just use? Oh yeah, of course, of course. Neat. Yeah, so they've got a very large ooze. This is, for those of you who've done some traveling, this is called the Shifting Slime. It's one of the larger ones that come out of the southern swamp. One of the more dangerous. That there are your rare and scary oozes like the puddings and the ooblex, but this is like your largest and most dangerous common slime. The Shifting Slime is very large. It fills that full vat. And it's got a lot more fluidity to it than most oozes do. It moves pretty quick and can swallow up its foes. It even has one of those. It has the ability to split into multiple creatures and then reform to try and corner its prey. And the contestants in the Vat Slime category are allowed one mundane weapon to try and protect themselves, even though it will slowly be destroyed in the process of fighting off the ooze. They do get to bring it themselves, so long as it has been checked for being non-magical and not containing any sort of like tricky mechanical or alchemical compartments. As long as it's purely mundane, they're allowed to bring their own weapon. And the winner of the top round here is a traveler, someone who comes through the city who you've not seen before. Well, actually, Resic, you've seen this man before. He is a Malpak, a large burly raccoon, and he wields a kind of it's a metal blade. He's got a two-handed sword of some kind, but the metal itself is a bright silver, and obviously not made of iron or steel. And as he fights this ooze throughout his time, you can tell that he's not overly talented with the blade. He's not exactly a martial combatant, but the blade does not wither as all the other weapons do. The acid of the slime does not appear to touch the blade, and he's able to defeat it. He's taking a few burns of his own due to his lack of martial prowess, but without running up against the issue of eventually the blade or weapon beginning to fail. And so the final competition ends, and the awards are being passed out, and Pontus once again rises and, Oh, the traveler! We have not had a non-resident win the VAT competition in many a year. Now, thanks to what appears to be a fantastic blade, this man named... He looks down at the young man, and the man looks up. Gregory! Gregory! Anyone get that? One of the nearby. Gregory. He said Gregory. Ah, Gregory! Young Gregory from lands beyond our own, carrying a foreign blade of metal. Non-magical and non-alchemical, as we did check, but immune, obviously, to the acids of the slime. Fantastic, Gregory. Fantastic. You will be awarded handsomely, and I personally would love to know where you obtained this metal. And everyone cheers, and they're all having a great time. And the VAT competition awards quite a bit of money, so he's actually given like a good sum in addition to the fame and admiration of all. The rodeo concludes. There's a couple of minor events. The band plays some more. There's a children's kind of deal where all the kids who want to participate get to chase somebody around and do stuff. I was gonna say they grease up a pig, but then I realized the pig would have to be a real person, and I felt bad, so I didn't say that.
That's hilarious.
Well, all in all.
Question: and in my travels, have I seen any swords or weapons made out of the similar material?
So you've heard, you definitely have seen unfamiliar materials and unfamiliar ores. And while they are typically kind of of a category above your own as far as what you could afford to buy and sell, you've definitely seen them. You know that there are other metals. Of course, silver is a weapon type, but you've heard of things like mithril and adamantine, and even more rare things like crystals and meteorites and stuff like that. But this particular one you can't identify on sight.
Okay.
So your suspicion is definitely that it's not steel or iron. You know that it could be adamantine because you've heard that one's especially hard, and therefore would be good versus acid. But on site, you don't know. Oh yeah, that's adamantine or something like that. It could be a star metal or something.
Okay.
The rodeo wraps up. It's a full day kind of deal. Around lunch, there was a break, and everyone who in the stands is given a free meal. It's all delicious, and everyone's happy. Things wrap up 4:30, 5 p.m., a couple hours before dinner, or maybe dinner time for some. And the market is expected to kind of really kick into gear with the first evening of the festival. The Mayor, Pontus, and Gregory kind of disappeared at the end of the rodeo, presumably to talk about this special sword of his. The rodeo finishes. You head out into the market festival. You're having a great time. And those of you who are trying to sell or purchase goods, roll me... Let me just a D100 for a little luck. See, how things are going for you. Rezik, you are doing exceptionally well.
Could general roll to see how many tips she got?
Genra.
Uh-oh.
Lost kosher.
Kosher. He's back.
Genra, also roll me a performance.
All right. Wait, where'd my thing go?
It died.
It did die.
Nice. Genra, you're playing your heart out. You're actually doing very well. Your practice over the last year has really paid off, and you feel good about what you're putting out there. You've received 5 silver in varied tips of, you know, like 2 silver pieces and a bunch of copper, as well as you played a special kind of a couple of songs, you know, for someone in particular, and they volunteered to you know, cook you a special dinner as payment. So you get your dinners also taken care of.
All right.
Lycus, you have been attempting to sell and move your wares, and you've had some success, making a solid singular silver piece, and then you, seeing that not a lot of people were interested in buying, you also went about trying to do some quick repairs for things that may have broken down during the festival, and did manage to make 8 more copper by doing so. You've spotted a couple of things that you're interested in, but what really caught your eye today was that sword. That foreign metal would probably help a lot with some of your personal efforts.
Could I roll Smith's tools to see if I know what?
You probably need to have it on hand, you know, or at least in front of you to be rolling Smith's tools. Roll me history first, or nature. History or nature. If nature was better, we'll add your bonus to that instead.
History's fine.
Okay. 19. You've definitely, similar to my explanation to Resic, you've definitely heard of foreign metals before. Now, you've seen and or worked with, you know, steel, iron, silver, and gold. And you've heard of things like quicksilver, of you know, adamantine, of mithril, but they are, you know, they're words in a book to you, nothing you've ever had put in front of you. So something that is exceptionally hard and durable is of great interest.
Mm-hmm.
Resic, you had much more luck in your mercantile efforts. You had a little bit to trade, some things from out of town, so that you could try and, you know, continue your goods. You know, you had some pristine feathers from the Alderheart that are used very commonly in writing utensils and bedding, just a lot of stuff. As well as a couple of rare tomes that you were planning to sell to the bookkeepers, but might have gone further to the right buyer here in the market. And in fact, they did. You got lucky and found some. You make a solid 9 gold during your trades, and now some of those are in like assets, things that you would have to sell to get the actual gold pieces. But like, you've got a piece of jade worth 4 gold pieces, a small statue worth 3, and then 2 actual gold pieces to your name. You know that you could easily take that jade or the statue elsewhere, as they are, you know, local goods here, and probably sell them for maybe a couple extra gold pieces, or maybe, you know, mark up an extra silver, try and make some profit there. But I mean, similar to Lycus, you know, you've got an eye for foreign wares of great value, and you too would love to know a lot more about that sword and its origins. The Temple of Altis is cleaning up and doing their normal, like after rodeo kind of deeds. You helped clean up the rodeo, for which you were each paid a small handful of copper. You got 8 copper pieces for assisting with rodeo cleanup and teardown, and then took all your stuff back to the temple, feeling good about yourselves and the deeds you did today, especially with having, you know, won and gotten the cool task. They tell you to, you know, show up after at day's end at the mayor's office to collect the torch and, you know, be assigned your task officially. And you go about your temple duties, you know, helping the poor and doing whatnot. Similar to Genra, for the kindness of your deeds, you're given a good meal for free as you know, help out around the fair as well. Genra, as the evening draws to a close and night is just on the edge, one of the band comes by to your little temporary stage. It's the smaller of the Luma. Her name is Calliope. And I know. Um, she plays a variety of wind instruments, mostly like a different series of flutes. And her particular flavor of Luma magic is that her instrument, whatever is in her hands, always glows with kind of an ethereal blue. And so it's always looks like she's playing a magical instrument, even though they're always mundane. And she comes by, and I saw your performance here on the far side. I want you to know that I asked I asked Lena if you could join the band, and she said no, like she always does. But I mean, I really liked it.
Oh, well, thank you, Galopia. I really appreciate that. I mean, I've been trying so long for this whole thing, and it's very hard not to feel defeated after being rejected so many times, but I really do appreciate it. So thank you.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to, I think if you impressed her with something outside of music, maybe she would have to let you in,
Oh,
And I think I think Genra, I heard the mayor talking about this special task, and I thought he was talking about the torch, but he was talking to that foreigner with the sword, and I think he said he was gonna have to round up some people. Maybe if you got on the mayor's good side, then Lena would have to, she'd be impressed and would have to let you in.
I think you're right. Maybe I'll do it. Is there a time frame in which you think I should do this by? Do you know any details about
I think they're
what the mayor was
meeting
talking
now.
about?
I think they're meeting tonight.
Oh, well, I should be going then. I will pack up my lyre and head over there. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Bye, Genra.
Maybe we'll do a duet sometime.
She flutters off. All right, so as the night draws to a close, you all kind of find your way toward the mayor's office, either in interest, trying to hunt down the sword wielder, or after the torch task, or after your own personal gain in some fashion. I need all of you to make a perception check. Okay. Genra only. This is it's just something that kind of sidelong, nothing that really stops you. It just it appears peculiar as you are making you're hurrying on, because you know that they're meeting now, not soon. So you're rushing across town, and you spot a small kind of, I don't know, we'd call it procession, but like a little group of tenders. Now, for those of you who didn't read, tenders are the circle of druids within the Humblewood who are specifically kind of aligned with healing the ash grove and repairing the burn that occurred to the land at large.
Would you say it's a 6 count of tenders?
I wouldn't. I would. I think it's only a 2-piece.
Oh.
The pair of tenders are sitting around a fire, and they seem to be chilling and they're having a good time, but it's like it will only occur to you later that the tenders abhor fire, that they work their entire lives against the flames, and never in stories or in your actual life have you seen. Now, they don't just like run around fucking putting out fires, but never in your life have you heard of or seen a tender druid congenially sitting near open flame.
Suspicious.
You all arrive at the mayor's the mayor's kind of home. He does his office work, and in his home there's not really like a whole governmental suite in this area. And you see him outside talking to Gregory. Now Gregory, as I said, is a Malpak, which he's a large Mapak.
Mapak.
Mapak, probably. It is a CH. I'm gonna go with Mapak. He's a large kind of burly raccoon. He has this bastard sword made of this foreign metal, so it's not quite big enough to be called a great sword. It is possible to hold in one hand if you are strong enough to do so, and he definitely appears to be so. Like he wielded it with one hand in the arena, except for every once in a while when he wanted to make a big swing, he'd swap to two. And he seems very strong, though not terribly coordinated. He is talking to Pontus, and now that he's got his regular clothes and gear on him, he looks a lot more like a smith than a fighter. He's got what from afar you mistook for another weapon, but it is actually a long-handled smith's hammer that he puts on his back. So he's got both of these long kind of weapons or metal objects attached to his back. Not for ease of use. That's an anime and movies thing. Nobody puts a weapon on their back if they can help it. But just for the ease of carrying. And he's hanging out, talking to Pontus as the four of you, for convenient plot timing, roll up at about the same moment. You look around and spot some familiar faces and run through your mind trying to remember names. If you're not, unless your name's Genra, you know exactly who they are. But the other three of you are like, I've seen that one before. It's something to do with a L. Anyways, but you roll up all about the same moment, and Pontus looks over and, oh, hello, young people. Of course, Ugla. Nice to see you again.
Hi.
You're not a young person, so he had to say hi to you specifically.
Awkward.
I brought your sconce and handle back. They talked a lot, but it was good to have some company.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? Well, it's convenient that you're here. This is Gregory. Gregory! Yes, Gregory. He comes from... Wait, I forgot the name of it already. Good job, Randy. You are good at remembering. Nice work. Right. He comes from the south of the Mockden caverns, where the slimes would come from. Apparently, there's a small village on the southern hillside, mountain area there. He says that a star fell down and crashed into his home, destroying his actual domicile. But the star itself was made of this wonderful metal, and he gestures to both the sword and the hammer, both of which have that same kind of light silvery coloration. And he worked it into his weapon and his hammer, and it's just it's fantastic. I can't believe such a lovely material landed so close to home, only a few days' ride beyond the southern roads. And
Pontus, I believe you've fallen into his trap. That man is a slime himself. That's why he was able to dispatch it so easily.
Is this true, Gregory?
What?
Go ahead. Your handle passed right through him.
Gregory's like, no! Gregory not slime! What?
Poke him.
I believe he is.
See for yourself.
You dumbstreak! Me real! He literally just like bats you on the chest.
An illusion. Mhm. You can tell by the way the moonlight glistens off of his skin. He's at least 98% slime. I've seen this before.
Ugla, what on earth are you talking about?
So,
Luckus
not
walks
only our
up and
first
pokes.
outsider, but also our first slime champion. Very cool.
Pontus is definitely like patting Gregory on the back. Lycus is poking him. Like, it seems real. Pontus is like, oh, jokes, Ugla. Very funny, yes. Oh, sometimes I don't get your humor. So, I'm glad you all came. I was just thinking about rounding some folks up, and trying to escort young Gregory here home, and maybe set up some trade. He said that star was quite large, and there might be more ore inside. Now, I don't want you to get the wrong idea, but I'd rather you didn't mention this to the tenders, if you get my drift.
Oh, really?
Why is that?
Well,
Yes.
the star fell with some heat, if you know what I mean, and they are wont to take ownership of anything that might cause any more scorchings.
Are you asking that we deceive them?
No, of course not. Just don't go out of your way to tell them about it.
You know, I did see some on the way here, and they do seem to have been up to something that is unique, I would say. I'm not quite sure what it was. They were standing near some sort of fire, I believe.
Now, Genra, I wouldn't want to call you. I mean, I know you're not a liar. I don't think you've ever told a lie in your
Of
entire
course
life.
not.
But
I would
I
never.
believe you might be mistaken. Tenders don't just hang out near fire.
No. I do not believe I was mistaken. I did indeed see them near a fire.
The rest of you,
They could have been slimes.
the rest of you
Evidently,
can,
there's plenty afoot tonight.
the rest of you can confirm that tenders not real fans of fire. Though you don't, maybe you have more or less experience with them depending on your upbringings and travels. So it definitely sounds like Genra is mistaken. Maybe they are slimes.
Maybe so.
Well, either way, I'm just saying, don't go out of your way. I think. Well, I mean, and Ugla, this would pass by the caverns where your torch needs to be enshrined. So perhaps rather than this side thing quest, maybe you would call it. Perhaps rather than that, you three are just helping Ugla on his travels, and if you happened to pass by Gregory's home and this star, perhaps you bring some back.
Oh, that sounds like a great time. I'd love that. I like to travel and to have some companions. It was going to be lonely anyway, just talking to this scone.
Yes, I imagine talking to sconces is lonely.
Even talkative ones.
Even talkative sconces, yes.
Their personalities very hard and brittle.
Right, yes, I imagine that's the case.
It's good to have friends a little more malleable, right, Greg?
Gregory!
And he just
Tries to get
expects to
slime
squeeze
again.
his shoulder off. Surprisingly, doesn't happen. Some sort of stone iron skin spell barks.
Yes, that's probably so. Now, I know what some of you probably don't know each other as well. I imagine Genra knows everyone, but allow me, as your mayor and friend, to introduce the rest. Ugla, a man of the cloth from the Temple of Altis. Rest.
Chainmail.
It's a turn of phrase, Ugla.
I wear chainmail.
a man of the chainmail from the
Yes.
Temple of Altis.
Oh, oogla.
Reshik, a traveling merchant who makes his home
Hello.
here but spends much of his year elsewhere. And Lykish, one of our local crafters and mercantile folk.
Hello.
Greetings.
Now, and Gregory, yes, Gregory, is a man from the southwest of the Mockden Caverns. Gregory, yes, Gregory. What did you say your town's name was? Farhome. Farhome. All
Fong.
right, Gregory.
Like the
Gregory.
noise it makes when you drop something into slime.
No. Almost certainly not. I think that's more of a glooping sound, don't you think?
Not with the southern slime.
Oh, yes, the southern slime. I'm sure that's the case. You must be correct.
Much lighter.
Much, yes. Now, if you would escort young Gregory, yes, home, I'm sure that you will be rewarded handsomely for any star you bring back with you. But I wouldn't want you to feel like you were going empty-handed, unprepared. So I will give each of you 5 golden pieces each, and a week's food and some good outgoing gear for those of you who don't travel much. I wouldn't want you to find yourself sleeping under the stars on a cold night.
That'd be much too peaceful. We wouldn't want to continue our journey.
Right. Or cold, that might also be the problem. But who knows? So, I think it's best if you start off soon. I wouldn't want these star bits, moving along on their own. Let's say tomorrow you set out.
That
Okay.
sounds
I'm ready
wonderful.
tonight.
I'm ready to go. Thank you, Mayor.
Now, Resic, I don't mean to impose, but I would like to task you with making sure that these folk who don't travel as much, are safe while outside of the city. Just make sure they don't, get themselves in trouble. There are bandits out there. It's been a while since they were a true major issue, but this far from the Perch Guard, they're out there. Be aware.
I have a sword, shield, and symbol of Altis. We'll be fine.
He looks strongly at Resic. Yes, I'm sure you will be fine. Please protect this moron.
I've got this, Mayor. You can count on me.
Very
Lycus
good.
pulls out a needle from his jacket. I'm
A needle. Ah!
ah!
Yep, that's it.
A man who knows his way around poisons.
Poisons. I would never use such a thing.
Oh, maybe you'll sew
That is
in that-
neither noble. That is neither noble nor savage.
Maybe sewing? Do you sew snares?
I do a lot of different things.
Hmm. That'll be handy.
Alrighty. So.
Or you could heat them, and then it would, that would really hurt.
That would hurt slightly
Oh,
more.
yeah. Well, that's exactly what I'll have to do.
Mm.
No, that also hurts your fingers, but no pain, no gain. Alright. So, you have the night to prepare for your upcoming journey. Anyone like you've all left the town before, and you in your minimal travels you've encountered the odd monster or two, so it's not like you're unaccustomed to combat and your own personal accomplishments. But this is probably the furthest that any of you, except for Resic, will have traveled from home, and for the longest period of time. You are outfitted with a tent and some good trail rations if you didn't already have them, and each of you will be given a rough map of the area largely just pointing out basically what the world map has, to tell you that you'll be headed west along the main road, and then south to go down the western side of the Mockden Cavern hill mountain area. I'll move you guys there on roll 20 so you can look at the same map. Any preparations the night before? Anyone have anything they feel they need to do before slumber takes them?
Ugla will drop his 8 copper he received into the alms box and settle in and meditate and ask for guidance, because he hasn't left the city in a long time and he's a bit nervous.
Okay.
Genra will meet with her fellow geese and tell them that she is going to go on a quest, which she hasn't quite ever actually done. So everybody's very surprised. And she will also, on her way back to them, I guess, see, what was her name?
Calliope.
She'll see Calliope on the way and tell her that she is off to help with that deed that the mayor mentioned. So thank you to her.
Are the shops still open and available or no?
There is a kind of a thriving night market that runs through the festival, where you can find more, I don't know, less adult goods, and less childish goods, which I don't mean like sex and stuff like that. I mean, it's like they're not selling,
Right.
They're just not selling toys and shit at the night market.
Okay.
This is where like some of the arms dealers, some of the more adventurous dealers are still doing their business, as well as the occasional. The world's not really kosher with like what you might call a black market, but if there were a black market, it would be here at the night market. Like you can find poisons and stuff like that, and obviously not for people, but if you needed a poison, you could find one.
I would look for things to bring that would help with the creatures in the local area in case of an attack, like just stuff for wounds or let's say that we encounter a slime, something to deal with however the body reacts, maybe a burn or like an acid burn or something to help mend the wounds.
How much money have you got?
I believe you said earlier I made 2 gold.
You got approximately 9 gold's worth of goods and coins.
Right. Plus whatever the mayor's gave.
Right.
Plus the 5 that the mayor gave you.
So 13.
14.
14.
And then in your starting equipment, you might have had money.
Depending on your background.
Depending on like what your background is and what your class starts with. Let's go look.
Okay.
No, you don't have any money. Okay.
Okay.
But as a merchant, you probably got at least some wares. Like you could probably, if you had to, you could trade more of your goods for maybe another 3 or 4 gold's worth. Let's give you, roughly 16, 17 gold. It's not enough to buy anything like magical, like you can't buy a magical potion or anything like that. But you can definitely get a bag of what locally called slime poultice, and it will overnight, like if like put inside of a bandage on a wound and left to dry, then over the period of a long rest, it will give an extra 1d4 healing points. All right, wait, long rests heal you in this game. Over the period of a short rest, it will give you an extra 1d4 healing. And you could buy 5 applications worth of poultice. You cannot, though, with the limitation that you cannot use more than 1 on a single person during a short rest. So you couldn't give yourself 5d4, but you could give each of you 1d4 or stuff like that. So you can buy that for 5 gold. And other than that, you've got decent travel gear, but like just as a traveling merchant anyway. So it's not something you're really suffering for. You have never been to the far side of the Mokden Caverns because there aren't really cities over there. At best, there might be small villages, and those aren't really big enough to be doing a lot of trading with. So you aren't familiar with the terrain as such. But if you'd like, you can spend another 2 gold on, say, climbing gear. I don't know. Well, actually, you're one of the races that has that burst of flight, so you probably don't need climbing gear in your kit. So you're probably good with just the poultice.
Okay. Would there be any way I could barter to try and lower the price?
Sure. Roll me a persuasion. All right. You got a -1, but you rolled a 20. So yeah, you lean on the merchant a little, saying that you've been tasked with a dangerous task on behalf of the city and the mayor, and he's he wants to help. He really doesn't want you and your mysterious companions to get too hurt, and so he's willing to bring it down a gold and sell it to you for 4 instead of 5.
Okay.
Okay. The night moves on. You pass into your slumbers and prepare for the night for the coming morning. Ugla. Ugla?
Ugla, whatever.
No, which one is it? Pick one.
Ugla.
Okay. Ugla, you fell asleep during your prayers. You basically spent the entire last hour of the night deep in meditation, trying to feel the rhythm of the world and the will of Altis. And during your slumber, you recall or you experience a dream. You hear the beating of the wings, the soul of the universe, and you find yourself walking on a barren plain. Now, by and large, the Humblewood, the world as you've seen it, is a very green place. Even the kind of shitty areas like the depths of the swamp, still very green. The only place that you know of at all that might be considered a barren plain is Ashbarrow or the Scorched Grove to the north. And this is a place where no one goes but the tenders because it's filled with evils of fire. But you find yourself wandering this kind of dark earth, barren plain. And you don't see any burned trees, so you're not sure you're in the Scorched Grove. But you've also never seen, this kind of like brownish, kind of burnt, dirty, earthy area. And as you do, you spot a large tree, just like up on the horizon. Oh, I closed my file. Where did it go? Files. There we go. Yeah, so you spot a large tree. And as you approach, you see that it's very tall, as you would expect, most like real, big trees that support life here in the Humblewood. But it is barren. In fact, the closer you get, the more dead this tree appears. And make me a perception check. Nice.
Guess he's paying close attention.
He is. You see, as you approach this, this great tree, you see that a symbol has been etched into its trunk of what appears to be maybe like a circle with like 4 cardinal points, and a kind of like a symbolic branch stretched across diagonally. And as your dream kind of begins to come to a close, you hear the crackling of fire, and you see the branch, that symbolic branch stretched diagonally, begin to blacken and char with little, like, kind of those red, those like little fire lines of like there's a fire inside the log, you know, and it splits and you can see it.
Yeah.
So you
From
can see
lightning.
it. Yeah, so you can see those little like cracks and etchings of what looks like fire from inside this large symbolic branch. The like the roar of flame stokes as your dream comes to a close, and you awaken in a hot sweat as the sunrise greets the temple.
It was the first nightmare he's had in like 30 years, pretty much since his noble life, or since the trials that came after that.
Right.
So he was super nervous. He prayed to try and find calm and guidance, and yeah, finds the opposite.
Okay. You all awaken. Everything's hunky-dory, except for maybe Ugla. And gather your gears, do your preparations, and meet up on the west side of town.
As soon as he woke up, he'd immediately run to the high priest or whatever the head of the temple would be and tell him about the dream.
Sure. Tell me about the dream.
I was walking along barren earth, the likes of which I'd never seen. It looked as if it had been scorched and razed. There was no signs of forest, no signs of life, save a great tree on the horizon. And the closer I looked at the tree, the more it felt representative of something greater, some sort of life returning to the lands. I noticed a small insignia on it, a circle with a large branch sticking out. And then the branch, I felt very connected to it, almost as if it represented me. But the closer I looked at the branch, I could see pulsing, hot, fiery lines running through it as if it was about to explode. And I woke up terrified. What do you think this means? Especially knowing I'm about to set forth on a journey which is terrifying for me. Is it just butterflies?
Well,
I had asked Altis for guidance on my path, and this is what he delivered me.
it seems as though Altis, rather than guidance, has shown you grim tidings. I believe you've described the symbol of the tenders, and flames among their branches are ill tidings indeed. It seems unrelated to your current task, though. I will do some digging, young Ugla, and when you return, we will discuss.
Thank you, Elder.
Safe travels, and journey with the might of Altis at your back.
I'll do my best to represent us well.
So, you all gather west side of town. Gregory is hanging out, waiting for you. He's got a dang it, you guys. There are no mounts in this world. I can't say he's got a pony because the pony would have to be a person. I guess everybody fucking walks or like.
There's fox mounts somehow.
Are there?
Yeah, because one of the gods is talking about a jousting tournament where people ride foxes, which is super confusing.
Yeah, that's weird.
Let me find it, because I was gonna pick him. It was the little mouse hero one, but then I realized that he's only for humble folk.
Yeah.
You scared the shit out of me.
I'm gonna say, also, whenever I was reading through it, it sounded like there was just actual animals that weren't.
Are there
Seemed like they
regular
weren't-
animals?
Yeah, like it sounded like there was regular sentient animals and there were actual predators and stuff that weren't necessarily like
Oh, tamed wolves. Yeah, so there has to be normal animals.
Ah.
This is the hero is Gas, or the amaranthine is Gaspard.
Mm.
And towards the end of it, it says, "Humble folk hold summer festivals in his honor. These holidays include storytelling, puppet shows, a magnificent joust where armored gerbines mounted on tamed wolves put on a spectacle of courage and daring before the crowds." So there has to just be, yeah. I guess I guess that's why they don't have the same names. Why I'm not an owl, I'm a strig.
Yeah.
So maybe there are normal owls, but then also strigs.
How does that work though?
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't understand.
I mean, there's like apes out there that are kind of like us,
Oh,
but
check it out.
you know,
Okay. So yeah, I'm looking
we're
through
like
their,
a human version.
I'm looking through their bestiary. By and large, basically, if it's a predator, it's not intelligent. Like there are mountain lions and wolves and leopards and stuff like that.
Wow.
Huh.
I mean, Vulpin are definitely predators, but
Right.
And so are owls.
well, that's true. Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
and
Weird.
falcons. But
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
you're
gonna say
right, they're all
there was
predators, you might
there
think.
there was also goats in the mountains as well that mostly what the mountain lions preyed upon was what one of the whenever you're looking at the layout for the towns and stuff.
Huh. Well, all right. I don't know if I want to rescind my vegan state or my vegetarian status.
I like it.
I think I kind of like that still. Yeah,
I
you're
like
still
it. It
vegetarian.
makes sense because if there was like a non-talking version of you out there, you probably wouldn't eat.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. All right, so let's say that there are mounts. We'll say probably just like large, like either wolves or dog breeds. Um, the Gerbine ride corgis, of course.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. Since there are no dog folk, maybe dogs are just the mount of the world.
Yes, obviously.
He's a sleeper. I'd grab him.
Oh.
Oh man, and yeah, the owl always saw was wearing like a cat skin, so maybe
yeah, of course. Yeah.
dogs and cats are the mounts in this world.
There you go. Okay, so yeah, you guys are given a. Well, not you guys because they don't have extras of that. But Gregory, the Mapak, has a large mastiff mount. You know, a large dog. His faithful steed, and but the rest of you will have to essentially walk. The mayor shows up to just to make sure you all showed up and waves you off and wishes you well, and you strike out to the west. You will, after 2 days travel, 2 days walk, you will pass through Meadowfin, which is an actual like way station like Winnowing Reach used to be, and then another day's travel will get you to the western side of the marshes, where you can start your southern walks. Alternatively, you could cut across the swamps, which would save you probably a day, if not two, depending on your luck within the swamplands. Otherwise, you are essentially a full week's travel from your destination.
Safe and not sorry would be my recommendation.
So I think that we should keep to the normal path and travel that way.
Yes, a lot of our journey is going to be symbolic of me just carrying this torch. So you want to stay on a path where people can see us,
Right. Agreed.
Okay, you head west. Traveling along the main road is fairly safe. The Perch Guard, which is like, as I said, the primary military of the capital, will patrol the main roads all over the nation. So at least once a day, you'll spot them flying overhead. It's rumored that Perch Guard patrols have a way of staying aloft because, as you know, the bird folk don't have true flight. They can't stay in the air for long periods of time. But when they're on patrol, they are always gliding. So either they have to land and jump a lot, or something is helping them stay in the air. So on your 2 days to Meadowfen, you do spot them 2 or 3 times, and as they glide overhead somewhere in the area.
Ugla is taking the carrying of the torch very seriously. He's out ahead holding it to light the way. And he tells the rest of the group, everyone stay behind the torch. Let it light the way.
Okay. So you've got 2 days. Do you want to chit-chat? Do you want to talk to each other? You want to talk to Gregory? You want to pass it in silence?
Jenna, we should come up with a song for this.
Okay. Yes. I do like that idea. What
Yeah,
kind of
that's all.
song would you like to hear?
It needs to be a song about these other 3 fellas and us going along.
Okay, all right. Yes.
Yeah, we do it. What do you imagine? We let's come up with a verse first. Let's think about what the verse.
You done fucked up now. I'm going to make you write this whole damn song.
3 birds and a vulcan.
And Gregory.
Yes. Gregory.
Gregory is a
He's a raccoon.
Okay. Got it.
He's a slime.
He is not a slime. Poor Gregory.
We could write a song about how Gregory is not a slime.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
That would be a good song.
Mhm.
A song about lies. I don't approve.
I do not believe it is a lie at all, or I would not suggest it. So
Star that fell from the sky. How about that one? And we can finish it. We can keep writing it down as we go along our merry adventure.
yes.
So the
Okay,
first
all right.
the first verse should be us as we go to Gregory's house.
Oh, okay, all right. We're on the way to Gregory's house. Here we go, walking down the road, and
And
where many humble folk and well folk, hand in hand, and we're on a journey.
Gregory.
I must admit, I'm much more of a player of the lyre and not quite a singer. But in my spare time, when I'm striding across the water alone, I do hum and casually sing to myself. So please, give me some time to warm up. Okay.
Oh, I can.
Oh yeah, no. Of course, we
I've
can
got a
take
line,
our
guys.
time. We probably need to think about some of the words we're going to use during the verse.
I
and then-
would
and
like
then
to
come up with a-
rhyme, and
Yes.
I would like to have a theme, and it's a little rough right now, but it will come to me.
Gregory's a
It
music
will-
lover. He's you're seeing that kind of haphazard verse, and he's trying to figure it out. He's like,
Gregory, you do not. I didn't realize you were such a musician yourself.
Gregory.
Gregory, yes. Would you like to give us a beat, Gregory?
No.
All right. Fair enough.
How's this for a line? We're going to meet his mother slime and hopefully not be murdered.
Or we could say something that's much more honest. Gregory is not the slime. Gregory is not the slime.
Ah, twist
Gregory is
ending.
not the slime.
Twist ending. I like it.
You're both
There'll
very
never
kind.
be a slime.
Yes.
All right. So you pass the
A cautionary tale about trusting a song.
yeah.
This is good.
You can always trust a song from Genra, as I always tell the truth.
Hmm.
Right. Yes.
I'll have to keep my eye on you.
I will keep my eye on you.
Oh. Appreciated. We can watch each other's backs.
Yes, indeed.
So you pass the first 2 days on the way to Meadowfen, attempting to construct the first verse depicting your journey. Now, everyone who would like to contribute to this song needs to roll me an intelligence or wisdom or charisma check, whichever is your best.
That's hilarious.
That's a save too. It's not even as good. What's your actual int?
My
Or
actual
your charisma? Sorry, what's your
charisma
Yeah.
is 17.
So you have a +3.
Yeah.
So you rolled a 2. So you got a 5 total. Oh, Jesus.
Not helping.
So, Ugla, you contribute a solid several lines about how he's definitely a slime, and that the like the cautions of following slimes to their homes. Lycus comes up with some stellar rhymes to contribute. And Genra, you find your lyrical talents are not with you on these days. But with the aid of Lycus, you are able to put his words to your musical talents, which you have plenty of. And by the end of your 2 days on the way to Meadowfen, you do have a verse, which I will expect by the time we play again next week.
Yes, we will have it by the
Yay.
next time we play.
Okay. On the evening of the second day, you arrive at Meadowfen, the way station. It has essentially 3 buildings, one inn, one kind of like conglomerate mercantile building, like there's a general store and a couple of little crafters, and then a large barn which holds a variety of animals, some for travel, some for local livestock. Rezik, you've been to Meadowfen a couple of times. There aren't a lot of cities to the west of here, but they do need the occasional bit of supply. So it's not one of your normal stops, but you've been sent here on kind of like a mercantile errand at least once. You know that the innkeeper, when you were here 2 years back, was a large... I'm going to need to become very familiar with the names of these damn races.
Yeah.
A large servant fellow. You don't quite recall his name, but he was a little on the overweight side and tended and managed the garden, which is quite prodigious. In fact, it serves most of the food needs of the inn. The merchant's interior, are kind of like a rotating cast. It's really just anyone who wants to hang out for a while can set up shop in that little conglomerate area. There's no kind of standard persons or personages inside that building, and during like the winter months, there's actually very rarely a merchant at all. So you roll on into town. It's evening time, so you have this opportunity to take the night in a bed, or of course you can continue sleeping under the stars. You do have plenty of gold to afford a stay. Ugla, you are given that 5 golds to aid you in your journey, but your character's not usually one to keep money. Have you maintained it for the needs of your task as given by your gods and your mayor, or did you give it away?
In an abundance of caution, he's hanging on to it you never know. He's not opposed to carrying money, but he sees it as something to be given and used, not as something to be hoarded.
Gotcha.
So he's awaiting just the time to use it, because like I said, an abundance of.
Right.
In general, he likes to keep, as little on him as possible. But then again, he doesn't know what to expect.
Sure. All right.
So he hasn't given it away, but he's keeping his eyes open for excuses.
Yeah.
or the need to arise. It's one of those moments where it's just like if he sees somebody begging or
Right.
destitute
If there's
some problem,
if the needy are about, you will be the
right?
first to be given
Then it
handouts.
clicks in his head.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, this my journey was fated. I was supposed to come across them with this to give.
Right. Okay. So you arrive in Meadowfen. You can take this opportunity to purchase a room. You can speak to the innkeep, the servant fellow. There are 2 merchants inside of the little conglomerate building, and it sounds as you're kind of walking by that it sounds like the barn's actually quite full, though you're not sure of what. You hear lots of different animal sounds coming from inside. What are you doing?
Oh, a pub.
Shall we go in? I do believe it sounds wonderful in there.
I believe I want to go get my stuff in order, and I want to talk to the innkeeper.
Okay.
I'll be back.
All right, let's go see if we can entertain you.
Let us go.
Okay, I'll walk around and see if I can hear any good local rumor.
Okay, so everyone but Ugla is headed inside the inn. The inn is obviously full of slimes, so Ugla wouldn't want to go in there.
Well, he's angling for the bar area of the inn, actually, just to go and see if he can hear any local chit chat or shit about what might be
everyone's
going.
headed for the inn. Ugla, willing to speak to some slimes, wants to listen for local slime rumors.
Yes.
So the 2 of you, so Ugla and Rezik, approach the innkeep. Genra and Lycus head for more of the common room area where they're serving dinner, and the people who are traveling this way are already seated and doing whatever. There is a performance on the small stage. It would appear that a little bit of shadow puppet theater is taking place tonight. There's a large kind of fire pit burning with a big kind of hemisphere of like hammered brass to cast light in a particular direction, and a big curtain upon which the light gets cast so that they can do their shadow puppet theater. You can see off to the side is probably half a dozen Gerbine behind the curtain, all doing all sorts of hands and other gestures to create their show. If you take a seat, a hearty dinner of spiced potatoes and a variety of greens is being served. There is also a kind of a more, like most of the places you go, they'll serve at least 2 meals, because some of the people are happy with like very vegetarian kind of stuff. They're happy with lettuce, and some need protein in their diet to maintain what their needs are, and so they've got a more protein based kind of option as well. At the bar, you see the large kind of portly servant fellow. He's standing a good solid like 5'10", 5'11", with a decent sized, not quite rotund belly, serving out drinks and just kind of congenially chatting with patrons who are interested in taking their liquid calories. Now that you see him, Rezik, you recall that his name was Roslin.
Hey, Roslin, how goes it? It's been a while since I've seen you. It's been a while since I've been in town.
He looks at you, and then his face is like, I remember this. It is my job to remember names and faces. This person to me is... Oh, he's placing it. You can see the dots are... Rezik! He looks at you hoping your face lights up, like, did I get it right? Did I do it? Am I the right one? He pulls down a mug and pours some cider in. His real talent is remembering what people like to drink, not what their names are. And slides a cider across to the stool you walked up to. The cider's still good. I hope you're traveling through for business.
We're actually on a journey. But I plan on doing some side business while I'm here. Do you have any good tips or information of what I can be expecting from here?
Oh, well, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to buy and sell, head over to the building. You know the one. There is a hedge. Come all the way from Bracken Mill with goods from the far side of the nation. I bet you will find many interesting activities upon which he has participated. But if you're looking for local common goods, or perhaps local news, maybe you would like to talk to my young friend here. And he points down at the end of the bar where another servant who appears to be very drunk, deep into his cups, is kind of hanging out. Just drinking cider, talking to random passerbys.
So Ugla's still holding this torch above his head, by the way. He's taking it very seriously.
I see. Having walked in with the torch, you do get a little bit of notice. You know, sometimes the torchbearer will pass through Meadowfen. Sometimes they cut straight into the marshlands. And so some of the nearby, like humble folk, because it's mostly ground dwellers here. Very few birds, except for maybe the occasional gallus. Will look up and be like, "Oh, the festival happened, and that's the torchbearer. Oh man, that's so cool. He must have did well." A pheasant who appears to be manning the door. It was the one who opened it up and let you in. He's the bouncer in a world that doesn't really need bouncers. So he's standing there. He's got like a wooden truncheon, and he just kind of chills on a bench most of the night. He stands up and lets you, "Torchbearer, I am expecting that you are a winner of what I hear are slime rodeo."
Yes, I placed in the 3rd position. A great honor
Third
indeed.
place. You wrangled many slime. Oh, I wish I could go over to your
Yes.
town and wrangle my own slime. I once wrestled 18 slime to the ground. While they are always on the ground, I wrestled them.
Wow, that's incredible. Yes, I wrangled them from inside a barrel. It was very difficult.
Oh, that is talent. You know, slime wrangler, your meal on me.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, I've taken it upon myself to never let the torch touch the ground as long as our journey.
How do
I
you
even
sleep?
I have a stick that I prop my arm up with while I sleep, so that it never touches the ground.
I feel like
Or leaves my hand.
I feel like the blood would drain from your arm.
Well, I'm a very strong man. I've been training many years.
I
for
can
this
tell.
moment.
Look at those guns. You are a man of strength and honor.
Oh, you should see under the feathers.
So that happened a few moments ago. Now you guys are at the bar. He pointed out the drunk servant and told you about the merchant.
That sounds great. What do you say, Razik? You want to go talk to the little drunk guy?
Big drunk guy.
I was going to say,
He's a servant. He's huge.
Oh, well, the barkeeper referred to him as his little friend.
Yeah, that's because he's
Sorry.
also huge.
so yeah, we can go talk to him if you want to check out the merchant afterwards.
Oh, I just want to check in on a couple things, see if there's any interesting local happenings.
Well, I think I'll just go check out the merchant then, and then we can convene later on.
Sounds good to me.
I'll let you know
be
if I
around
find out
here.
anything.
I think the other two went into the restaurant.
You don't need a key.